Philippe Coupey, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us about your latest novel, Wild Virtue. It's really nice. And we're here in your home. Yeah. Is this where you wrote the book, by the way?
This is where I wrote the book, yeah.
This is where you wrote the book.
Right here, in fact, yeah.
You're an accomplished writer. You've written as a Zen master 14 books on Zen, of which the latest one, Zen Fragments, got published just recently at Home Press in the States. And your book Wild Virtue, your latest fiction novel, Vertu Sauvage, is getting published this winter in France. What's the difference between when you write fiction and when you write
Well, first of all, I'm not a Zen master who writes books. That's something that you said, I believe. And I'm not a Zen master who writes books. I just write books. And I'm not. And if I'm anything, I'm not even a monk. I mean, I've been a monk for a good part of my life now, but I'm not a monk, and certainly not when I'm writing. I'm a writer, and I'm a monk, and there's no transition because there's no psychology.
So you are what you do, you mean?
Yes, you are what you do. Those phrases make us sound very like a hunk of wood, but anyway, yes.
For readers who would, want to pick it up in a library, what do you have to say to them? Like, what is this book they're picking up?
Well, if you're uptight and you got your own opinions about what Buddhism is, and Zen in particular, then don't touch this book. What do you want to read a book like that for? Unless that's what motivates you. I'm speaking to the potential buyer.
Let's dive in the book.
Yeah, okay.
The book is the visceral tale of an American Zen monk.
Yeah.
It so happens, called MC Daly.
Yeah.
Who gets caught in a drug smuggling intrigue. And as the plot thickens...
He doesn't get caught, he gets wrapped up.
He gets wrapped up.
Because he's not a prisoner. He gets wrapped up.
As a reader, you feel like MC Daly struggles to find a middle way between Buddhism, which is his practice, banditism, which is the drug smuggling cover-up action he's involved in, and then this is all set against this backdrop of political intrigue, assassination of Gandhi in India. We are in 1984.
But I don't think he was motivated by that. Or I don't think Daly was confused or in difficulty with what you just pointed out. He was, at the beginning, of course, he says it's not correct what I'm doing. The Buddha's teaching and all this and what I'm doing. But that lasted a very short time because he was in the action. And so there's only action. There's not a theory behind the action.
Yeah. Can you recap for persons who haven't read the book? Can you recap the story? How does MC Daly get wrapped up into the drug smuggling intrigue? What happens?
I'm having a hard time remembering the book, to be honest with you, but I'll do my best. He is a Zen practitioner in Paris, and and his friend calls him up from Hawaii and says, "Hey, you want to do a film with us in India?" And I said, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And anyway, we work out a deal together, and then I go to Formentera to meet the producer, and he's going to give me some money, and I needed money because I didn't have a penny, and I needed it for my Zen practice. You have to pay, and I didn't have any way of paying. So I go to the island, Formentera, and I meet the guy whom I've already vaguely known. And we talk about it, and he says, "It's a film you're going to do." And I say something like, "Come on, what are you talking about, film?" "Film?" He says, "Film." And I said, "Well, wait, you're going to say I'm in a film? Is that what you mean?" So we have a debate on the meaning. Of course, it becomes slowly clear to me that it's a cover. It's a cover, and it's a cover for dope. And since I told my friend who originally initiated this thing with me that if ever he needed me, I was available, there was kind of a promise I'd made to him years before. And so I figured it'd be a lot of money and it would be quick. It'll be going flying to India. And, it's all been set up. These guys know what they're doing because they've done it before. And I know they've done it before, so they know about it. They're not amateurs. And so I'm in it, and I'm not in it. It's a question of mind, and I don't have the mind that lasts very long where I feel guilty. There's no guilt, and it's just you got to handle this. This is a phenomena that you got to take care of. And so he's into how you get the dope out of India and the whole trip, yeah. And he's totally involved in it. And he's a cover because the whole thing is they want me for one reason, besides knowing me and knowing that maybe I could handle the job, because I'm a Zen monk, and that's what they want, a cover. And I realize finally, I say, okay, I'm a cover. And then I think a bodhisattva could be a cover too. There's no end to this idea of a cover. So I didn't have too much problems with that. And one of the points I'm making, I hope, and it's not Dali's intention really, because he's not a fucked up guy in any way. It's to bring people to the practice, and he's doing that. And he doesn't even know he's doing it.
You speak alternatively in first person and in third person. I and he.
Yeah.
My question is, who wrote the book, you or MC Dali? And how did you write this book if you wrote it together?
If it wasn't for me, there'd be no Dali. So how could Dali write the book? He acts as if he writes the book. This is beyond fiction. It's fiction, but it's beyond fiction. It's autobiography too. It's together. It doesn't stop on fiction.
And why do you think, as a Zen master, because the book is full of teachings, there are teachings in there about the practice, about the Dharma, the teachings of Buddha. Why do you think fiction is such a skillful means to perhaps transmit or speak of the Dharma?
It's the best. It's the best by far. If I could get out, when I was in court some years ago for proxenetism or whatever the word is in English, pimping, the people in the audience were these guys who were handcuffed and they were already in jail. And I come up and I have to speak to the three judges and answer the judges' questions. And the judges have one of the books that I wrote for Demeure, and he holds it up, and then and it's a picture, and he sees this. The people in the audience, they see Demeure sitting, boom, like a mountain, and they, hey, what's this? And then when it's over and I'm going out, they all come up to me and they want the book. I only have a copy. But these people, the problem is most of them don't read, but this is a book that talks to them, in that it talks to a lot of people. It talks to intellectuals, obviously. It talks to spiritually minded people. Well, what do you mean this is evil? Let's talk about evil.
Yeah. In the novel, in the beginning, MC Dali is going to the library in Delhi and reading up on the Dharma and Zen teachings.
Yeah.
And he's very impressed by the story of Ambedkar.
Yeah, Ambedkar, yeah.
Who, a Hindu untouchable.
Yeah.
In the caste system there, and he became a monk.
Yeah.
Ordained.
He converted to Buddhism.
He converted to Buddhism, but especially once he converted, he ordained 80,000?
80,000 untouchables. Can you imagine? I mean, news is
in one day.
In one day. How many thousand?
80,000.
Yeah, 80,000. So what they did was they said, the government, Madam Gandhi, And she said, it's finished. No one can convert Hindus into Buddhism again, ever again. So it stopped. Otherwise, it would have continued, and there would have been no Hinduism.
Yeah.
Of course, there would have always been Hinduism, but it would have put a bit of a true light on what's happening. I mean, the untouchables, they get whipped to death if they hear the sacred words of their who are they called? Brahma, Shiva.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't even have access.
No, and if they hear it, if they listen to it, they're almost massacred. They may be killed.
And how does MC Dali deal with that, with social injustice, because he seems as a character, he's ungraspable. It's difficult to grasp him or to pin him down.
Well, because you can't pin him down. He doesn't have a position. How can you put if you say you're a rightist, then it's easy. If you say you're a leftist, it's easy. If you say you're a fascist, it's easy. It's super easy. Yeah? I mean, we see it all the time now. They're all saying they're fascists. Almost. They're not. No one's telling the truth, but they're all fascists that are running, basically. Anyway, what was the question?
How does MC Dali deal with social injustice, or when he's faced with?
Well, I think when he sees it in those terms, he knows why he'd become a Zen Buddhist, why he became a Buddhist monk. And that was the only answer to that. He's not going to go out and shout and scream for justice. That's another person's job. It's not his job. And no, injustice is something that disturbs all of us all the time. But I see it and I can cry, but it doesn't go further than crying. It doesn't change my life. Who cares about psychology? That's a lot of blab. But today, that's the thing you have to talk about is psychology. But there's no psychology here. He's not going to puzzle over something and say, why did he say that or why did she say this? Just boom, here and now. Every incident is here and now. Maybe that's what disturbs people. Because they're editors and people in positions. Writers too. I have a few strong, very favorable letters. If you're interested, I'll leave them with you. I'll have to find them. But it's clear that I disturbed the establishment. And I never wanted to disturb the establishment. I am the establishment. So I can't make that kind of them and me, you know. I like Zen, and I like Buddhism, and I've got a pure mind, and all this stuff. And I'd like to promote Buddhism, but not what you're talking about. They're screwing on the first page. But that's just because he wants to get to the dojo fast. There's no complication in any of this. And then some people really see it for what it is, and even more, they really think it's a great book. And it's one of the ones that I kind of prefer. And then I wrote the other one, Temple Rapidly Vanishing, and that was a very hard book for me to write. Horse Medicine was really easy, but Temple Rapidly Vanishing was a hard book to write. And I was thinking, well, why is it so hard? It's because there's no real beginning, middle, or end. Horse Medicine, there wasn't either. Except, there's the death of the master. But in Temple Rapidly Vanishing, there's no end. It's just going on, and that's the kind of writing I like. Without the artificial beginning, middle, and end. But then I was told, Philippe, you want to get published? I said, I've been wanting to get published for 70 years, yeah. Well, write a story, make it a beginning, a middle, and end. So I sit down and I write this book with a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's perfect. And I said, this one's going to work. But no, they don't even want to see it. They hear what the subject is, it's written on the back. What is it written? It's while Vertu gives an exciting account of a Zen monk involved with a band of smugglers. Okay, they don't like the book. Because why don't they like the book? Because they haven't been told to like the book. You have to tell them to like the book.
So what do you?
I'm talking about editors and the people. When they say, now you can, now, and then the Buddhists as well. The Buddhists don't accept it because smuggling is illegal. Smuggling dope. But what happens the day smuggling becomes legal? If the moment smuggling becomes legal, then what he's doing is fine. But that's not the Dharma. The Dharma doesn't work following the little laws. It's the little laws that follow the Dharma.
Today you're 87, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been practicing as a Zen monk for over 50 years. You've been a writer for over 50 years.
More. I was a writer well before I was a Zen monk. I've always seen myself as a writer. And what a nice feeling to not be a writer. To not be a writer after having been a writer. When I saw with Deshimaru, he says, I'm going to read your hand. So he reads my hand. He says, you got two things in your hand. You're a writer and you're a Zen monk. And I said, are these two things going to meet? And he said, I'm not going to answer that question. He said, I don't know. He said, I don't know. And I know. Yeah, it met. But monk was taking precedence over writing because it's not even taking precedence over writing. I don't write anymore. I'm not a writer. Do you know how light that can make you feel? To not be a writer? And I'm free from this book. I say that the very last lines in the book I say something like that. We all know the answer to that. That was what I said, I think. More obstacles. Oh yeah, he's talking about who he was and who he is and who he isn't. And he says it wasn't him. It wasn't Dali. He wasn't even there. Did he, MC Dali, really exist? And did any of this really happen? He knew the answer to that. That's what I mean. What I'm interested in is just writing, not fiction, which I used to do. You know, I wrote about a mercenary fighting in Senegal. This is a long time ago. I don't do that anymore. You say I can't write about a mercenary fighting in Senegal at the time when something was going down.
You write from lived experience.
From living experience. What else is there? You know, what else is... but I must admit, some books are really great. There are some great writers. There was Aldous Huxley, and he was coming into a religion with the doors of perception, as you know, and from there he's talking about meditation and stuff. And then you have who else do you have? You have Kerouac, and he's sitting in the mountain and meditating, but not really meditating and not following a lineage. They don't have a master. You're following a spiritual way, you don't have a master, okay, well, or a guide, whatever word you want. No guide, no nothing. And then there's me. And I come along, and I've broken that whole thing. I said, hey, you can be as hip as you want. I know all about that. I was like them. I came a little after the beatniks, but I was just like them. And I practiced. And they never practiced. Ginsberg is another one, and they just talk. So now it's time to get something really truthful out. I hear someone, okay, don't hell this actually Ginsberg, Kerouac, Ginsberg, and then you get someone sitting, and he's not sitting because he's a goody, or because he's a monk. He's one of them. And he's sitting.
Okay.
And an editor should see that immediately. Well, is it true that you want to make money, you, the editors? I don't believe you're really interested in making money. I believe you're interested in following the directives you get from on top. And if you want to make money, publish my book. It's what they're all talking about. They're all talking about the evils of smugglers. The evils of smugglers. And you have to write books showing that they're really evil, the smugglers. But they're not evil. Read this. They're the bodhisattvas who are smuggling.